booties for black girl nerds.
Hey, this is Jamie Broadnax with Black Girl Nerds coming to you from San Diego Comic-Con, and we're here to interview the cast of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So stay tuned for these interviews and more. Can you tell us a little bit about, this show is obviously shrouded in secrecy, so we know very little about the story as well as your character. So tell us a little bit about your character on the show.
Okay, sure. So I play Kemen. He's a Númenórean. He's the son of Council Pharazôn. Pharazôn, people may know from the lore. He is a legendary figure in Númenor. And I guess the son of legends, the kids of legends generally, you can either try and meet and outdo those people, or you can coast. And I think Kemen's more in the coasting phase of his life. He's been born into immense privilege. He's living in a golden age, and he's not really challenging something that's been pretty good for him so far. He's keen for things to keep going as they've been. And that might be harder to maintain than he imagined.
Have you had the opportunity to dive into the Tolkien-verse before getting into this project?
Yeah, my mum was a huge fan as long as I can remember. So I grew up with the books in the house, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and then I lived in Wellington all the way through the Peter Jackson trilogies. So I was in primary school when the first ones came out. I was at drama school when they were doing the second three, and now I'm in this. It's surreal.
What's been the most remarkable part about working on this project? Obviously, it's got a phenomenal cast, phenomenal production design, just a huge feat. What's been the most thing that's resonated with you working on this?
The production design, absolutely. The scale and the detail of it is unimaginable. Like in Númenor, obviously the island was gifted by the Valar, and you can go to the old parts of the city on our set, and you really feel the influence of the elves when things were good in that relationship, and then you go to the modern parts of the city, and there's no trace of them. You can feel that in the design, there's just history on top of history on top of history, and that attention to detail blew me away. And then working with our dialect coach, she's got an unbelievable handle on all of these different dialects, all of these different peoples who have incredibly different ways of communicating and incredibly different sounds and placement. That was a godsend having her. That was probably the thing that I cherish most.
There's obviously a lot of book purists out there and fans that are very, hooked on the universe that we're used to. What message do you have for fans that are awaiting this premiere?
I know a lot of people came to this through Lord of the Rings and through, both the books and the movies, but this is millennia earlier. So while there are elements and threads of things that they may know, they should be prepared to be surprised and see some stuff that they will never have seen on screen before. I've seen a couple of episodes now, and I was genuinely shell-shocked by it. It's a thrilling accomplishment.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. Really appreciate it.
Really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this show is shrouded in secrecy, and we know very little about it. So first of all, tell us about who your character is, your character name, and who your character is for our fans.
I am playing a character called Elendil, which for those of you that know the lore, he's quite an important character in the history of the Third Age because of what he does in the Second Age. And Elendil is a Númenórean, so he comes from this sort of beautiful island nation of Númenor, which was a gift from the Valar to the men who sided with the elves against Morgoth in the First Age. So it's a little sort of paradise. They're gifted long lives. They live to 350 years old. Great height, great health. They never get ill. And so what we see at the beginning of the show, we see them right at the peak of their civilization. So that it's almost like ancient Rome, and just the beginnings of a potential schism between those people called the King's Men, who are nationalistic and they want to advance and they don't want to die, and those who are loyal, called the Faithful, to the elves and all of the culture that goes with that. So,
this show has been described as a different version of Middle Earth. It's like a second age of Middle Earth. Can you describe what Númenor will look like on this series?
Númenor in this series, I think will hopefully, and from what I've seen as well, will look absolutely incredible because the Númenóreans are at the peak of their powers in terms of architecture, imagination. And in terms of the set design, our production designers, our art department, we actually built the city of Númenor. Oh, well, we built the city within Númenor, but you'd go down alleyways, there were canals, there were people on boats, there was a harbour built. So a combination of that and the artistry of the CGI that would just go on top of it. But I think the most important part of it is that we're actually standing in it. It's not a green screen behind us. So from an acting perspective, it was joyful to be able to, to stand on that set and feel that you were a Númenórean. Yeah, that's where you came from.
It was revealed in the Hall H panel that a lot of the actors learned of their scenes moment by moment. I believe Dan, that plays the stranger, learned that about his role. Was that the same for you?
There was a certain element of that. There was early conversations, during the audition process, during the meeting with the showrunners as to where, again, rather like talking where the character is going to go. And it always happens when you make something, particularly when you make something new, is through rehearsals, through collaboration, through discussions, everything slightly changes. So it was quite exciting for us all when the new script would come out and you'd see where your character went, and you'd have an idea where that might go, but in practice, until you read it, you're never quite sure. So it was always quite an exciting moment when those scripts landed.
Yeah. Were there any scenes that still resonate with you, even after filming?
Oh, so many. I mean, we had a little trailer in the hall today about when I first meet Galadriel, and from Elendil's perspective, he has an elven heart in his family background, and despite the fact that pragmatically he's trying to negotiate the new Númenor, there's a battle between his head and his heart, so his heart gets involved with her, and just being on that ship with the opening line to her, which for me was one of the Eldar on board my ship, strange tides indeed. That was a joyful moment. And then there's a lot of time on a lot of horse. There might be some battle sequences, don't quote me. So much of that was really, really exciting.
Last question, what message do you have for fans, particularly the book purists, the fans that are married to the Peter Jackson films, that have these expectations, that are waiting for the premiere?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because they're potentially two different groups, those between the people that read the literature and those that like the films, and sometimes they cross over. I think the most important thing is if everyone should just read what J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have said, where they come from. They're absolute fanboys. There's a deep love and trust in the source material. So inevitably, like for all of us, and with my character, when you read a book, all of our imaginations fire, and that's very hard to replicate, and therefore you become attached to your own vision of something. But also you can be surprised by how something else is interpreted, and hopefully brought to another level of understanding. And I think that's going to be the challenge and the joy of doing this, is that somehow both those things will get married. But I genuinely feel in JD and Patrick that the love for Tolkien is there, and I think it's safe. I really do.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you for repping Black Girl Nerds everywhere, playing this role.
So welcome. You are so welcome. And thank you for being such an amazing support. There are so many women and people of colour out there who are absolutely flying the flag and raising the roof and giving me so much support and empowerment right now. Without you guys, this would not be possible. I hear you and I feel you all around me every day, and I'm grateful for your presence in this journey, for sure.
So this show, of course, is shrouded in secrecy. A lot of fans don't really know what, all of the characters are about. So first of all, for our fans, tell us who your character is and who is she all about?
She is Princess Disa, the first female dwarf that we have ever seen. Cinematically within Tolkien's works, ever. She is a mother, she is relatable in so many ways, but also she has magic, she has her own ambition, trajectory, power, self-worth, a passion for her people, and a passion for her home. She is just a complete all-round formidable force, and it's an honor to play her, for sure.
How does it feel carving this new path for fans, and obviously Black female fans, to be on this show and just carry that weight? And obviously sharing that beautiful story in Hall H about the audition process. How has this journey just been like for you so far?
It's been a dream. It's been an absolute dream, you know. This is necessary. This is a revolutionary moment within our time. And to be the poster child of accessibility for people of colour, for women, is an honour, and it doesn't feel heavy when I have an immense amount of fans and support all around me, and of course the support of my castmates and the team at Amazon. This was the best casting for the role, but they were just opening the doors for people who may never even been able to get through in front of a panel or in front of an audition team before, and to be able to stand strong and be the poster child for the children in the next generation to see Mama, Papa, I can do it too, and to open the possibility is an honour. It's a true honour.
Yeah. Now your character sings, is that correct? Tell us about that.
She resonates. So she has an amazing relationship with the earth. You know, she is able to manipulate, move, speak to the earth and materials around her, and she does that through song. You know, I trained in musical theatre. The voice is a huge part of my life and my heart, and so to be able to put that skill and that love into my work has been such a joy. But you will hear me throw some notes around for sure.
And I was doing some reading on you, so you speak fluent in Farsi. Is that right?
I do.
So are you going to be speaking other languages in this show, or are we going to get some multi-ethnic?
You hear a few dwarven words knocking around, few dwarven words and dwarven language, but I speak in English for most of the time, but it's lovely to be able to have that ear for, thank goodness for my mother that I was raised around the Farsi language. Not a lot of people know that about me. But it's such a poetic language, and kind of there's so much musicality that I can play with and learn from to be able to inject into the role and into the show, which is great.
That's amazing. Are there any scenes that still resonate with you long after filming this show?
I think for me, probably the first time when I did a lament, and that was where you will hear me. I think it's in one of the trailers, and there's kind of and I just if I say singing, it almost feels like it's going to be a song, but it's not. It's a sound from the depths of our soul, and I know that people of colour will relate to that. In that, when we sing, when we use our voices, it comes from way beyond. It comes from our ancestors. It comes from the struggle. It comes from the desperation and the fight for survival. And so I was able to draw into that and release within a performance and within our storyline, which for me was just a complete collision of soulful music and an emotion, along with obviously the storytelling, and that moment to play and on set was very powerful, very powerful moment.
Incredible. Are we going to see more female dwarves that look like you? A colony of female Princess Disas?
I hope so. I need an army. We need a little Destiny's Child dwarven situation, do we not? Yeah, I very much hope so. There's definitely other female dwarves. You'll see when you watch the show, there's like a whole race, a whole kingdom of everyone and everything within the Dwarven Kingdom, so that's really great. But yeah, of course, it's wonderful to play kind of the princess and the poster child for the first.
Oh, that's awesome. My last question to you is, for the book purists, for the Peter Jackson fans that are married to the films, what message do you have for them as they're awaiting the premiere of the series?
I would say, come along for the ride. Hold on to everything that you have enjoyed before and open your mind to everything that is about to happen, because once you delve into this journey, there is no going back, and I feel that there will be, I hope, an undeniable enjoyment of just new storytelling and new versions of Tolkien's work and narrative.
Fantastic. So good to see you again, Sophia. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Good
Absolutely. Take care. So this show is shrouded in secrecy. So can you first of all tell us about your character and the journey that you're going to have this season?
So I'm playing the character of Galadriel. She's one of the oldest elves in Middle-earth. And her journey is she knows that something's out there. And she learns that she's both right and wrong. And for an elf, that's quite difficult to swallow.
How has this show had an impact on you as an actor? I mean, this is obviously a huge opportunity, and it's a huge feat to take on. How has this just impacted you working on this?
I mean, it's been an experience like no other. The longest job I'd ever done was 6 weeks, and always really a crew that you could kind of fit into one room. And so yeah, it's changed my concept of my job because I've worked with so many people, and that's been wonderful.
I was asking some of the other actors, and I remember in the Hall H panel that Daniel, who plays the stranger, he was saying that when he read the script, it was like moment by moment. Was that your experience as well, working on this, that you were only given like hints as to what your character was and how it was being developed through the process of working on it?
Yeah, we always had we always knew where our characters were going, but there was kind of weaving around how they'd get there. And every episode kind of, we all have quite a lot to do, so you just kind of, did take it episode by episode, because that seemed huge to all of us.
What scenes, or is there moments during filming that still resonate with you, even after it's been over?
I think the first day that we started filming again after our COVID-induced break, that I felt so grateful to be back with everyone and back working, and that's in the first episode. And so I think the first episode's always going to be very special for me.
I know, and that was very much the experience.
And how's this experience been like for you? I mean, basically it's like giving birth. You're seeing the fans react to the trailer and Hall H experience. What's that been like, just seeing everybody sing it for the first time?
It's been amazing. I feel we've been pregnant with this for a long time. It's very weird. I wanted to come here and I always thought that I'd be in the audience, and so it's very, very surreal to be on the other side. But yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm a big horror, big fantasy and sci-fi fan, and it's the fandoms that make those genres so exciting and keep pushing them. So to finally let them kind of in is great.
Yeah. What message do you have for the book purists, the fans that are married to the Peter Jackson films, that have these expectations that are awaiting the premiere?
I would encourage people to have an open mind and try to give them the opportunity to enjoy. I think we've got a wonderful group of people working on this, and I'm really proud to be part of it. And read the books. He wrote a lot. So.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.
Yes, I am Sara Zwangobani, and my character name is Marigold Brandyfoot.
So this show is shrouded in secrecy. A lot of fans do not know what's going on. So can you kind of describe your character and the role that you play in the series?
I can. That bit I am allowed to talk about. So my character, Marigold, is a half-foot. She lives in a community that are migratory, they're nomads. They've had suffering in their past, and so they've decided to hide from the world. But they have a lot of joy and song and love and friendship. Marigold is a matriarch. She is in charge of her family. She rules the roost, and she's just trying to keep their way of life alive. She has a beautiful daughter who is kind of bucking against tradition, so that offers a challenge for her.
Is there going to be some kind of conflict between her and her daughter in this series, or what can we see from that relationship?
I think any parent, when they talk about raising a teenager, there's going to be some conflict, yes.
Has there been any moments or scenes that resonate with you still after filming this show?
Definitely. There are several, but there's one that I find hard to talk about without getting teary, actually. There's one later in the season. Let's just say it was one of those days where I was with my fellow half-foots. That's Markella, Megan, Dylan Smith and Dan Wayman. And we had a very emotional scene that we had to shoot, and it was one of those days where the line between sort of your character and yourself becomes really blurred. It was absolutely magical. Everyone brought their A game to the day, and it will live in my memory forever. Yeah.
Did you have any experience in the Tolkien verse before getting signed to this project?
I did. I actually grew up reading Tolkien, and I was a massive fan of the films. I've read the books over and over and over again ever since I was a little girl, and they actually introduced me to the world of fantasy. And so I'm a massive fantasy sci-fi geek, and it was literally started with Tolkien. But also, I'm incredibly passionate about Shakespeare, and again, it started with The Lord of the Rings, just the wonderful language and lyricism. It basically has formed like all my passions in life ever since.
So what was that call like when you got the part? Because obviously as a sci-fi geek and being familiar with this universe, what was that like?
It was absolutely astonishing, but I got it on really short notice. So I got it, I had to be in New Zealand 3 days after I got the call. So it was doubly, because I hadn't expected it, and then I got this call, and then a couple of weeks later I was standing in the forest shooting. It was basically a dream come true. It was totally incredible.
We're hearing that the sets are just extravagant, and obviously we're seeing that from the footage in Hall H today. Was it a lot of practical effects or CGI? Can you talk a little bit about what the set design looked like working as an actor?
Yeah, so it was, especially for our world, it was pretty much all practical. They spent so much time. Kate Hawley's design was astonishing, and then they spent all their time actually building it from the ground up. So actually we were just talking earlier about how there's a place we filmed for a lot of it that was on a farm, and when we got there was this amazing wood and forest that we worked in, and later on we found out that they had actually built that from scratch. It had been an open field before that. I would have never known that if I hadn't been told that. And so it was completely immersive. It was like a giant cosplay every single day, just getting dressed up and going to work and entering this other world, which means that it was such a gift as an actor, because half the work was done for you before you even got on set. So yeah.
What was that like, seeing yourself in the full regalia, in the costume, in the cosplay, as you say, on that set?
I got the giggles the first time I saw myself, because obviously I saw bits and pieces, but on the actual day, I was doing a lot of dancing that day, and a lot of pinching myself to go, this is really happening. It was incredible. But also now I carry her with me. She is me, I am her, and it was a real joy.
Do you guys, as actors, I'm always curious to know this, do you guys get to keep any mementos on set? Do you get to take anything with you?
Not yet, but I'm working on it. No, not yet, but obviously we get to keep our memories, and also now I'm allowed to say that, yeah, a lot of it is going to be used for season 2, so we'll see what happens down the track.
So my last question is for the book purists out there, the fans that are married to the Peter Jackson movies. What message do you have for them as they await the premiere of the series?
Well, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of genre. I completely understand the passion, the attachment, and I think those films were incredible. I too waited for them to come out and was there on Boxing Day in Australia, when they came out. But I think that we respect and pay homage really to those that came before us, but I think this is our world, and every single person on this show who's created it is also passionate about Tolkien and also wants to do justice to it, and I think that's all we can do, and when the fans see that, I think that they will feel that. I really do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure speaking to you too.
Thanks.
I am Cynthia Addai-Robinson, and I play Queen Míriel.
Awesome. So we are familiar with your work as fans through your genre show or your genre performance on Arrow as Amanda Waller. So playing an authoritative role, do you strike any sort of parallels with that, playing this new role as the Queen Regent Míriel?
I have been really lucky in my career to have tricked everyone into believing that I have any kind of authority whatsoever. So to have the gift of people, really believing me as any sort of boss or leader, that's why acting is great, because you get to do that and be that, even if it's temporary. But I think there is a bit of a through line, in some of the characters I played, but there's something really special about playing a queen, number one. It's pretty amazing. Playing a queen in this world in particular, and just getting to, just be the face of what I hope will be an iconic character, and just really fill in the blanks that exist in the lore, because there's not a whole lot there that Tolkien sort of wrote specific to this character. So I have the opportunity to sort of create and add and enhance.
There are evil queens, there are noble queens. What kind of queen is Míriel?
I think in some ways she's a slightly reluctant queen, because at the end of the day she wants to make the right choices for her people. She wants to guide them in the right direction. And the challenge is, what is the right direction, and how does she know, that the choice she makes doesn't have, far-reaching implications. So I think that there is this sense of not wanting to disrupt the relative peace in society, and you'll see over the course of the season what that means and how that plays out.
Is there sort of a battle that is going to be happening? Are we going to see some thrones going to be taken over in this show?
You might see battles. You might see thrones. We have our own versions of those things. But what I think is really great about our adaptation is that it really does stand on its own 2 feet, and we finally have the opportunity to see the first 3 episodes ourselves very recently, and I have to say there's nothing comparable. It is not like anything I've seen. I know there are a lot of obvious comparisons to things that are out there, and those are all also stories that I enjoy immensely, but this truly feels like something new and something that does not compare to anything else, and that is really exciting to be part of.
That is exciting. Are there any scenes that still resonate with you long after filming the show?
Many, and I wish I could say more. I love my arc. I love all of the arcs of the characters that you're following. From the roles that everybody knows and loves to sort of newer characters. Everyone has a really fully realized journey and ends up in a really interesting place. And for Míriel, she has a journey that I cannot wait for people to see. And I don't want to say anything more to spoil, but I think it's pretty special.
My last question for you is, for the book purists out there, the fans that are married to the Peter Jackson films, what message do you have for their expectations going into the premiere?
I would say you should continue to love the Peter Jackson films, because I fully understand that love. And there's room at the table for more love, because I think we have something that is very much our own. And all of these adaptations, whether it's Peter Jackson or our version, or, we've got some singing down the way, they all get to stand on their own 2 feet, and I think people will love our version. I think it's something that really feels right for our times, and, again, you can love them all. Love them all. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Cynthia. Pleasure speaking with you.
Nice to speak with you, too. Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hey!
Girl, nerds. I'm so excited to talk to you all.
I'm excited to talk to you too. So for our outlet, can you just say your full name and your character name?
My name is Ismael Cruz, Córdova, and I play Arondir.
So first of all, this show is shrouded in secrecy. We know very little. So tell us about your character and his journey on the series.
Well, I play Arondir, a Sylvan elf that is tasked with watching over the people of the Southlands, which are humans that back in the day sided with the evil side of things. Elves have come in and have essentially taken over, colonized that area to make sure that they don't do this again. So in that, he's a soldier, and day to day watching, patrolling, meets a human that catches his eye, and the story takes over from there.
You shared with us in Hall H and also in other interviews that you've brought a lot of your own martial arts into this role. Can you share a little bit more about that process and what that was like?
Yeah, I wanted to make something that was original. I had the opportunity of creating something from scratch, and also, as I said, like I mean, it's not a secret. I'm the first of color, you know. So I thought also it would be beautiful to bring something that was of our people, a diasporic martial art, an Afro-Brazilian martial art was capoeira. So I did kung fu, wushu, taekwondo, and kind of had it all with the base of capoeira, which to me, as him, is a woodland elf, and elves are eternal beings and they revere nature. A lot of these, I went on a trip, you know. I was like how you know, a lot of things, you know, when you see those time lapses of things growing from the ground, there's a lot of spirals that happen, and how nature rises and falls. If you're an eternal being, you see that all the time. So I made the movements kind of follow that spiral, etc., etc. I just wanted to make it the most beautiful thing, but badass thing that would represent all of us.
That's beautiful. Last question I have for you. For the book purists, for the fans that are married to the Peter Jackson films, what message do you have for them as they await the premiere?
I mean, every iteration of this has brought magic to a new generation. It was magical for us where we were in this time of our lives, and it's going to be magical for us again and for a new generation. So I think everybody needs to keep themselves open, and if perhaps they don't want to see it, allow other people to enjoy it and to take it with open hearts, you know, and to let them impact their lives as it did the other iterations did to us.
Excellent. Thank you, Ismael. Appreciate it. Take care.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.